Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sashank Gupta and I develop mobile apps. The motivation which drives me to start a new YouTube channel of my own is basically this fast-paced growing world, and every day something new we are getting to know about developments, innovations. So since I develop mobile apps, so I thought of sharing my knowledge with my subscriber, or even if you are not a subscriber, I would like you to subscribe my channel if you like my videos. So let's jump into the topic. So today I have picked up uh, a topic from Android development, which I would like to discuss with all of you, is a clean architecture design pattern. Why clean architecture? Because this is a quite extensively used design pattern across almost all the project developments happening using Android framework. So the clean architecture represents our application code base into three layers. The top layer is presentation layer, where our view models or composables are residing. The middle layer or an interface layer is the domain layer, where we write our use cases with respect to our view models, with respect to our UIs, what we want to display. So all those use cases we define within our domain layer. And the inner core layer is the data layer, where the repository, whether it is the it is a RESTful API consumption or a local data source, so that entire code base is basically residing within the data layer, or which is called as the inner core layer. So if you look at the diagram, the presentation layer basically talks about the composables and the view models. So basically we write different events, UI events, like a button click or scroll, or maybe text input change or something like that, and those events will trigger our view model functionalities, where we are eventually updating the state. And if you look at this presentation layer, which is having an interaction with the domain layer, so the view model will have the domain use case references, and through that it will trigger the different use case what we want in our you know application, and that use case will eventually trigger the repository, and that repository will have the RESTful API RESTful APIs, and the local database. So whatever, like however is our use case, according to we can drive the different repository. So repository is like an interface through which we can either hit our RESTful API or our local data source. So this explains the clean architecture. And why clean architecture, as we already had model view model pattern. So this lean architecture basically, identifies the different scopes of your application. So this is just, making your code much cleaner and robust, and more like a, pattern which will help you in the future events, like when your app size is increasing, your different screens are coming into picture, more number of APIs you are consuming in future. So as with respect to time, your app size grows, your code base grows, it will be easy to handle those situations. It will be easy to, unit test. It will be easy for each individual developers, to contribute in such scenarios. So that if suppose one developer is working on a domain layer and one developer is working on a presentation layer, so there can't be any situation in which there will be any conflict. So suppose maybe in future, uh, suppose like five number of new APIs are coming into picture which you have to integrate in your application. So that can be done in the data layer without interrupting the presentation and domain layer. So that is something which is an ideal way of constructing your application. So this is just to make sure your construction or your architecture is better. At the end, user is all going to see the UI, but behind the scenes, we as a developer, our duty is to make our code base much cleaner, much robust, and future proof. So this is the ideal representation of a clean architecture. So I have set up a project which I would like to discuss with you through this video. So let me open my project. So yeah, and for reference, I will be sharing the link of this repo, at the end of this video, so you can just check out my repository, and you can get the reference of the code base, so that if you want to make use of it in for your own purpose, you can take a reference from my repository. So don't worry about it. I'll be sharing the repository link and all the other details at the end of this video. So just stick to the video, and I hope you're gonna like it. Okay, so the very first thing, what all the dependencies associated, then I'll come towards the step in which I'll be discussing about the different packages, or how we are, making the clean architecture folder structure in our project. So let me go to the build, sorry, the app level build.gradle. So, for navigation, since this application basically works with Compose navigation. So, as I'm using Composable, so I'm using Compose navigation. So the UIs, what I will be preparing, or what I have already prepared for this demo, is basically with Jetpack Compose. So this is all latest and greatest in Android development. So Jetpack Compose, clean architecture, and Hilt dependency injection, and for networking, I'm using Retrofit, and that is also one of the things, like for handling the image, asynchronous image, I'm using coil library, and for pull to refresh, basically I just for a learning purpose, so that you guys can have an idea. So I have introduced a pull to refresh option as well in this app, so that you can get the fresh latest results from the backend API, by swiping down the screen. So yeah, so this is about the build.gradle, and then you have to specify basically, under plugins. I'm just highlighting so that you will understand. So for Dagger and for Carpt, we have to specify in our plugins block, and then coming into project level build.gradle file, here you have to specify, the Dagger Android library, the version. Okay, and one more thing, what we have to do is, since we will be working with, you know, network calls, so we need to, enable a permission, which is internet permission. All right, so this was about the bare minimum setup that you have to do. And since so please don't worry about the different dependencies are used in this project, because anyways I'll be sharing the project repo link down the description block in this video at the end. So stick to the video, stick to this session, and this will be a fun learning session. I'll make sure. Okay, so let me close all these tabs. So okay, so as I have already talked about, let me grab that image again. Just give me a second. Yeah. So as I have already talked about, this clean architecture basically constitutes of three different layers. One is presentation layer, one is domain layer, one is data layer. So we need to identify our different layers, and we have to combine them, into the packages. So as you can see, I have created a package called as data package. So this This basically derives the data layer. Then there is a domain package. This is the domain layer, and this is a presentation package. So as I've already explained, the data layer is basically responsible for the data source implementation, whether it is a local database or it is a network call. So all those sets of information or implementation has to go there within the data layer. Then this domain layer, as I have already talked about, is more like an interface between the presentation or the UI layer and the core layer, which is the data layer. So this domain drives our application with respect to the user's requirement. So suppose in one screen we want to display something. Okay, it could be a list or a subset of a list which is coming from the data source. Then those use cases we have to define within the domain layer. And the presentation layer will definitely contains our navigation or our composables, our UI states, view models. So these things are going to be there in the presentation layer. So let me open up each and everything from the in a sequence basically, so that you will get the chance to understand how to work on it. So let me highlight a few more packages what I have over here along with the other three layers. One is the core. So basically this core is more like a a package in which I have specified some of the util functionalities or some common codes or some constants which are going to be used in this project. And there is a DI package. So basically this DI is like a dependency injection package in which I have this app module class in which I will be specifying all those object constructions basically which I'll be, handing over to Hilt dependency injection module. I won't be creating instances for these things. Instead, for me, the Hilt library is going to create. So, for example, the retrofit instance is basically being constructed by the Hilt dependency injection, and it will be available, in the runtime. So when you build your application, so Hilt basically constructs all these sets of objects or classes for you. So yeah, so this is a thing which you can make use of it if you are using a dependency injection. So suppose one object depends on another object. So instead of constructing that object within the scope of another object, what we can do is we can construct that object independently using dependency injection, Hilt, and we can pass that object as a reference. So uh, if suppose in our retrofit something is going to change or getting changed in future, so that will never require to have any changes in the implementation classes. This is just an example. So along with the retrofit instance, I'm also creating instance of my API class. So you can see this block. Okay, so this I am handing over the responsibility to the Hilt library, that Hilt please construct an object for me for this articles API class. Along with the articles API, I am also telling the Hilt, to take a reference of this articles API which you have only created, and then construct, the repository class for me. So this repository class basically, an interface uh, of which the implementation is done. So I'll go into the depth of these code bases. So I was just explaining you about the Hill dependency injection. Why do we need it? We need it because we want to remove the dependencies of some different classes objects into some different classes. Okay, so that if suppose any change occurs, for example, in this articles API, if suppose this articles API is passed as a reference to this repository, okay, and this repository is further returning an instance of the implementation class. So suppose if I make change, I'll make more entries into the articles API, Uh, for example, currently I have one post service. I may have another 10 or 12 number of post services, or I may have to, make some different changes, just for example. So in that case, I don't have to worry about, the implementation class, which is making use of this articles API. So this is a benefit which we can, make use of it if, by adding this health dependency injection. So this goes actually very smooth with our clean architecture. So this is our app module class. Okay, let me go further. Now, to make work with health dependency injection, you need to have an application class. So that should be annotated with Hilt Android app. So for that, I have created a class. You can keep it anywhere. I have just kept it outside of my clean architecture, blocks or packages. And let me now go sequentially into the from the core layer or from the presentation layer, we'll go into the very core layer. So let me open the presentation class. So as I was highlighting earlier, the presentation class is more like a UI layer. So in presentation class, we'll have composables, we'll have navigation component, we'll have our state flow, we will have our view models and all and our activities. Okay, so this is the main activity. So let me open it. So this main activity, what we are doing in the main activity, basically we are for, see the very first or very important thing to be noted here is to specify this end notation in the entry activity of your application, so that the hilt will accordingly go to the dependency in the, go to the app module class, and it will construct all the sets of dependencies that are required for this that will be required for your project. So you have to specify this annotation. And let's come back to this later. Okay, so if you notice what I am doing here, so basically, in order to work with state, I'm using view model. So clean architecture does contains model view model pattern as well. So it's not just like a completely different thing. It's like with MVVM, we are more focusing on clean pattern. So here, what we have to do is we have to get the instance of our view model for the very first time. So see here, we are not creating an actual instance of our view model class, but what we are doing is we are creating a Hilt view model instance by specifying the type of the view model. So as soon as we do this, what the Hilt library will do, or the Hilt engine will do, it will go and search for the, basically the article view model, your view model, and it will construct that instance, and it will give you a reference of that into this variable. So that is how you are supposed to construct an instance of view model through the Hilt view model. You are not going to create it, you are going to give this burden onto the Hilt dependency injection, and it will construct the object for you. Okay, so this was about this line. Okay, so this is our entry point of the application main activity. So let me now explain you about the navigation. So see, for our example, I have just used one screen. Okay, so this is how we are supposed to create a nav host in which you will pass the controller, you will specify the start destination, you know so this basically destinations are specified in one of the other enum class, which is screen. And in this you can specify different what to say, routes according to your requirement. So you will basically create a nav host, and you will specify different composables. Composables as in different navigation composables, or the different screens what you're gonna have under your navigation stack. So that is how you are going to you are supposed to create a navigation host which will be driving your application, or which will be holding the different stacks or the different screens of your application, so that you can navigation from one to another. Okay, so this was about the navigation. So and now the composable. So basically, since I have already explained, I have designed the UI using Jetpack Compose. So we are using composables, and for the same we are using compose navigation. So let's jump from the main activity. So here you can see I have created a composable app scaffold. So in app scaffold, what I have done is, if you notice, I am returning the app nav host. Where is this app nav host? Here. And what is this app nav host is doing? It is returning the nav host which I have constructed. Okay. So this app nav host is basically uh, our navigation. See, here I have kept it, but this you can use if you have multiple screens. So just for this example app, I have specified here itself, okay, the nav host. So, but in order to make it much cleaner, I have explained it like how you will specify the navigation stack over here. So just for this example, I'm using the same over here. So this nav host, basically what it is doing is it is receiving a nav controller, which I'm passing over here by taking an instance of a nav controller, and I'm specifying the start destination. So since in my app currently there is a single screen, okay, I do not have any splash screen, I do not have a login screen. Just for the explanation purpose of how clean architecture works, I have made it very simple so that it will be easy. If I would have introduced a complex UI, complex navigation, then the focus would have splitted from the clean architecture into understanding the navigation and what all the screens I have built. So this is a bare minimum project which mostly talks about the clean architecture pattern. Okay, so this so there is a component which I have created, which is article composable. So let me go into article composable. So this is the article composable. So what this article composable is basically doing, I am calling an API, okay, which is returning me list of articles. So let me talk about the API, or the RESTful API which I'm using it. So see, we have a news API. You can go and sign up over here, and you can get your API key, like how I have done it. Okay, and then you can basically, this is the API which I am using. So see everything, and then there are some params like Q is basically the different types of article what you want. So for example, here it is passing Tesla, and for Tesla it is returning, and you have to eventually give your API key, and couple of others query params are also there. But in my example app, I have used this Q and the API key. Okay, so I'll mention these things in the video. So it will be helpful for you to get the reference. Okay, let me go back to the code. So as I have mentioned, like I am calling one API which is returning me list of articles which contains image, which contains title, subtitle, or heading, something like that. So that I am basically you know uh, constructing over here. So see, this is article list view basically. So I'm using a lazy column, and I am iterating through the list of articles, and then finally this article item specifies a single item in the list. So that contains that contains the image, that contains the title, that contains published at. So these are the three informations which I'm basically showing uh, on the UI. I'll run this app at the end. So let me at least explain you about the different layers, what is being used or what is being applied in this project. Okay, let me close these things. Okay, so this was about composables, navigation, and then view model. So basically, this view model, as I was telling you earlier, that certain of the things, for example, object creations or dependencies, what we have of one object into another object, I am just handing it over to uh, Hilt, so that Hilt will, just take care of it. So if you notice, in the article view model uh, class, I'm passing the article use case. So this inject constructor, when we specify inject constructor, and you also notice this Hilt view model. So this is a mandatory step. You have to specify this annotation. And if you notice this inject constructor, what this will do, it will create an instance of this article use case in the runtime when I will actually create an instance of this class. So I don't need to go inside it, and I don't need to create an instance of article use case to make use of it. So this makes it quite easier, right? I don't need to, maybe like what if in future the article use case constructor changes? It will expect like multiple more arguments, maybe. So I don't need to worry about it. That is Hilt, or is the person, or is the entity who is going to do it. So article use case. So I was telling you in the through that this uh, texture tutorial, that the view model basically communicates with the use cases. So why this use case under this view model? Because there is a reason. This use case is like an interface between these two entities, the data entity and the presentation layer. So say here I'm just creating a mutable state flow. Okay, and this is a function in which I'm using this article use case, and I'm calling get all articles. So this again, this article use case basically uses the instance of this article repository. So that is Hilt going to construct for me. I don't need to worry about it. So this article use case basically is because I do not have a specific use case at this moment. I may have use case in future, like to list certain number of articles which were published like 10 days back. Okay, so out of all those articles which are coming from the API, I just need some specific result to be displayed to the user. So those type of use cases we can define over here. So that I will, call the repository get all articles. I'll call the API, and from that API, I will select some specific, what to say, articles like which were published 10 days back, or articles from India region or from US region, something like that. So these are the use cases. I have just made it very simple so that you can understand the, you know, how we are differentiating between different layers in this clean architecture. So I'm just going in a flow. So from view model, I came to use case, then from use case, I have to go to the article repository. Say, now this article repository is basically inside domain layer. Okay, so I've just domain layer is like an interface. So I'm just building the interface. What all the things presentation is layer is going to require, is going to ask for. So those things are defined over here. So the implementation of this repository is going to be done in the data layer. So if I go here and see, this article repository implementation is basically within the data layer. And what I'm doing is I'm calling finally the article API, and that is going to pass as a constructor inject. Okay, so Hilt will create an instance of this article API as soon as the instance of this implementation class is going to create it, so that I will have this reference handy with me. And finally, we are calling this get all articles API, which is in the data layer itself. And see here, this particular API is going to query certain parameters as queue, which I was already telling you before, that queue is going to have the article type, uh, and then there is a API key. So I'm just passing these two things, uh, that article type and the API key, and it is going to, since I have to translate the articles API response into objects or a class-based response. So this is going to return an all articles DTO type. Okay, so all articles DTO type, basically this is more like the representation of the response, the JSON response into the class type. So this is more like a serialization what we are doing. So this article DTO contains these three things: article, status, total, result. So this articles is again a data class in which we have the different parameters. Okay, so these parameters should match with what we have in the API. I'll call the API and I'll show you the result basically. And yeah. So this was about this. Okay, and finally, okay. So we have this. Now let's go back to the implementation. So what we have done over here, we have called the get all articles API and kept the result into this, and at the same time we are mapping the result into the domains type. Correct. We are mapping the result, means that all articles DTO into the domains article. If you look at the domain layer, we have another model over here as well. So this model basically represents what is actually going to be displayed at the user end or at the presentation layer. So if I look at the DTO and if I open the article DTO, see we have couple of you know uh, different attributes like author, content, descriptions, published at. But if I look at the domain article, we have just author, title, URL to image, published at. So basically, we are filtering according to our requirement. So this is also one of the thing what domain layer does. It has the requirement because this is like an interface. So you have to specify out of thousand number of attributes coming from the RESTful API, what all the things you actually need in your app to display. So this I have done just in order to explain you why we require a mapper basically in our in our clean architecture. So if you look at the data layer, we have a mapper. What this mapper is doing, it is actually creating an all article. If you look at this domain domains all article, it is creating an instance of domains all article by mapping through the article data article DTO class. Basically it is mapping from DTO class and constructing a domain model class. So see, at the end what we are doing, we are creating dot author, title, URL to image, it dot publish, but it has all the other things. For example, it dot maybe description, then content, but those we don't need, right? And yeah, and status and total result, because that is all what all article is required: articles, status, and total result. So this is more like a serialization which you have to specify in order to compile the JSON, because Java or Kotlin does not understand JSON. We work on objects. So we have to specify, or we have to serialize the JSON into our own understanding pattern, so that we are using the serialization. Okay, so this was about more or like the data layer. Then we talked about the domain layer. See, in domain layer, we have already seen the use case. Okay, and in presentation layer, Everything started from the view model. So the view or the article composable had this launch effect in which we were calling the get articles from the view model. And this get article is actually taking a filter. That filter we are passing. Just give me a second. So we are passing Bitcoin. So see, this is just for an example, right? This is not like a real-time project or real-time product. It's just an example. So I'm passing a Bitcoin. So it will list down all the Bitcoin related articles. So it is going into the get article, which is in the presentation layer. Further, it is as it is having the domain layers use case, reference, then it is calling the use case that, yeah, go and get me all the articles by filtering this. And once this see what is this going to return? This is going to return a flow of all articles. Okay, and see for handling the different cases, like there could be a case in which you are calling the API and you have not got the results. So you are into the loading state, and if you got the results, then that will be a successful state. If any error occurred, then that's going to be an error state. So how I am managing that thing? So that I'm managing into a resource class which I have constructed. So basically, this resource class is creating three different classes or returning three different classes. One is a success class in which we will specify. So this is basically a kind of a placeholder in which whatever kind of object will come, it will represent for that. Okay, so yeah, and this is a error class, and finally we have a loading class. So accordingly, we are managing our UI. All right, so let me go to the view model. So once we call that API, initially we will have this state. How we will have that state? Let's go and check it out. So if you look at the articles repository implementation, initially we are emitting the loading state. So as we are returning the loading state, then in the view model, we will have this, we will have the control over here. Okay, and since this is a flow pattern, so it's not like once you have requested and once all the entire computation has been done, then only you will get the result. This is not like that. This is a coroutines flow pattern, so in which you will get the intermittent results. So this is good, right? This behavior is more like a flow pattern in which uh, you will not just wait for the API forever until it get resolved. So you can actually handle this flow pattern by sending the intermittent responses. So that is how I am doing over here in the implementation. I'm first emitting, so you have to use the emit. Okay. So as you can see here, equals to flow. So this is more like a flow pattern. So see, flow pattern is not part of this particular video, so that I can cover in future. You can even give me a comment, and definitely I'll bring a video specifically on flow pattern. So this is a very good use case. So you can check it out. Okay, so I'm emitting the loading result, and finally I'm making a call to the API. So this will eventually return me the result, and I'm also mapping to the specific requirement according to the domain layer. And finally, I am emitting the success. Okay, and if anything goes wrong, then I am emitting the error state. So accordingly, if suppose error state is there, then I'm just specifying, I'm just changing the state basically. So there is this state which is containing three different possible states. One is articles, means we have the values. One is error message, one is loading. So your state could be in any of these. Okay. So finally, in the view model, so if I go back to our view, so basically articles composable. So what we have done is we have called this. Okay, and this state is definitely updated. So here we have this cases. So if it is loading, I am just showing a loader composer in which like a box in which I have wrapped this circular progress indicator. And if there is a, any error message, okay, error state, then I'm showing the error, state. Otherwise, I am, showing the article list view. So considering I'm having the data. So in this article view model state, so article view model state is having articles which I have already talked about. We are using this state. So this is basically representing a view model state. Yeah. And I'm creating, iterate using this lazy column and iterating through all the different articles and finally showing this article item composable. So this article item is basically showing asynchronous image. Async image is basically coils. This is sorry. So this async image basically it's a coil library. So you can use this for images which are coming from network. So yeah, so this is the async image, then title, and finally published this study. So let's try to run this and check how this happens. Yeah, look at this. So let me bring up the Locket. So here I made a call. Okay, I made a call and it got successful. And we have this. See, status okay. We are getting this result. Okay, till here. Till here we are getting this result. And this is containing a lot of attributes. See, you can see ID, name, author, title, description, etc. URL. So, but we are using for our purpose in our card view. If you notice, we have an image, we have a subtitle, and there is another timestamp for date. So yeah, so this is how, yeah, and about the pull to refresh. So see, pull to refresh. So where it is. So this article list view is basically having this pull to refresh. So if I pull it, then it will have this as activated, or this will be if I pull it. So this will consider it as state as true. It has swipe. So in here I'm again calling the same API which I was calling in the launch. So this is the latest thing which we possibly see in all the uh, applications mostly, like whether it is Zomato or this is Amazon or any other app. So if you suppose list of product is there, you pull it, you'll get the latest products. Yeah. So yeah, this is about my video, and I'll share the repository link. I'll share the the API which I have used, which was basically the news API. This API, I'll share the link. You just have to go and register. You get your API key and you will be able to basically use it like how I have used it. So yeah, so this is about this current. Yeah, one more thing. So in terms of the setup, the application class which we have constructed, and defining the Hilt Android app, that you have to specify over here in the under the application tag. Okay, like here I have. So this is also one of the thing you have to do in order. If you don't do it, it is not gonna work properly. These are the bare minimum setups which you have to do. So yeah, we are at the very end of this video, and I felt it very good. So I was able to explain you about the latest architecture pattern, which is a clean architecture, which does contains MVVM pattern because we have seen we had a model, We had a view model, we had a view, which basically was our composables. So we were interacting with the view model and the view and the model. So yeah, so this clean architecture basically contains the MVVM pattern underneath. Okay, so I hope you will like the video, and I hope I have made this tutorial easy. I've made this explanation straightforward so that you can focus more on the uh, you know pattern side, not on the the hardcore development which I've done, like creating this screen, creating multiple screens, splash screen, navigating and stuff. So that I have not focused on. I focused on the core thing, which was to make you understand the clean architecture pattern and what all the different layers it contains and how to make use of it. Yeah. Okay then. Thanks everyone, and hope you like it. And if you like it, if you will like it, finger crossed, then please like and subscribe my channel, and just let me know. I'll come up with some more such videos in future. Thank you.